Today I'm starting my Summerween reading vlog. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of different things throughout the summer months, including Gabby reads her This Is Summerween readathon, which I will be taking part in at the start of July. I am filming this at the end of June, mainly because I want this to be like a summer filled vlog, not just for 1 week. So you're getting lots of different types of books, lots of different summer activities and so on. So enough rambling, let's just get straight into the video. I was reading Dollface during my little trip to the Isle of Mull. We stayed in a little cabin just in the countryside in Oban, and I did get to do a little bit of reading of this book, but I did finish majority of this at home after I come back from that trip. But Dollface is like the perfect summer slasher read, especially if you love the genre as a whole. It mentions so many slasher tropes. It talks about our different villains in slashers, and it's like a love story to slashers. And I will agree with the tagline that it's been given, like a Barbie meets Scream. It does give that vibe. I thought the writing was so easy to digest and get through. It would make like the perfect poolside read if you take this on holiday. So essentially Dollface is a story following Jill, who is a horror author herself. She moves across the country to the suburbs of New Jersey, and somehow she stumbles into a real life horror novel where there is a doll-faced masked killer roaming the streets of her little suburbs, and she then takes it upon herself to figure out who's doing this. And she talks about her life and how she was growing up and how her mum passed away, which wasn't of good circumstance for Jill and her sister. And basically it is about relationships, family dynamics, friendships, small town living, and a crazed killer. It's got some whimsical vibes and I enjoyed it. I will say though, if you are an avid horror reader and you know the genre of slashers, then you might be able to pick up where this book is going quite early on, but that wouldn't take away from the experience reading this story. I thought it was still a decent read, and the writing style was really comedic and entertaining. But if you don't want your books to be too obvious, then you might not enjoy this one. Overall, I didn't really care. I thought it was still a decent read, and I've given it 3 stars. So friends, I have now finished the Summerside Lake Massacre by L.R.J. Allen. You would have seen some clips of me reading this here and there during the start of Summerween. I did finish this, I think, on day 2 of Summerween, and I don't really know what my thoughts are on this story. So Summerside Lake Massacre is essentially about a summer camp set at a lake at Summerside, and some horrific things happened in the 50s, and we get that prologue at the start. Please excuse the noises. Axel has decided to join with a toy. So we then skip forward to the 80s, where this summer camp has been taken over by new owners, and we learn about the new owners, the past, the counselors. We learn a lot about these counselors and their life stories. Obviously they're teens, so it's very teen centered. This book doesn't reinvent the wheel. It doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. It pretty much follows a similar premise to all other slashers. It does have vibes of Friday the 13th with Halloween and so on, so it does take inspiration from those stories. So this one is definitely not unique in any sort of the way. I had a hard time with the whole teen aspect of this story. I really didn't care about what this teen couple were getting up to, and I wish I had more from the killer's perspective. We get snippets here and there throughout the chapters. I wish this book would just follow the killer's perspective more, and it would have given a much deeper insight into why this is happening and less annoying characters. But obviously it is set out to be the 80s slasher, so those annoying teens were everywhere in the 80s and in the slasher stories. But like I said, it doesn't reinvent anything. It's a decent read. I mean, I've given it 2.5 stars. I just wish it kind of did something new. So I read Greedy practically in a day and a half. I love this book so much. It is so gross, and I would say do not even think about food or eating food or anything to do with food while reading this book, especially if you're a vegetarian like myself. This was such a nauseous read, and I did feel myself. I read this really early in the morning one day, and I was like, oh, I feel kind of ill while reading this book. And I was like, oh, maybe it's because I haven't eaten yet. Started thinking about food and felt more sick. So definitely don't read this book hungry, and don't read this book thinking about food. Greedy is following a British person who lives in Japan, is having a hard life, takes a job as a private chef for a rich Japanese like billionaire, and it is a really odd work placement for him. He starts to uncover lots of weird quirks to this woman and what she likes, specific food requirements and cooking, and her charity that she's involved with, and so on. There's a lot happening in this story, and I feel like it did its job. Like, it literally says not suitable for vegetarians on the book, and I would completely agree with this. Like, I was so nauseous reading this story. The descriptions of certain things and how grotesque this was written was absolutely perfect. The book definitely hooked me like a piece of fish, to use that sort of analogy, and I didn't want to stop reading it because I was so enthralled by the story and the prose and just the characters in general. Like, I feel like Callie was able to write these characters so well rounded that they felt 3D, and I loved reading it despite feeling absolutely nauseous and not wanting to eat. I love the outcome of the book, and I would highly recommend picking it up if you want some more gross, disgusting books about food. And yeah, does it actually say what it is? Okay. Unusual tastes. So I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want any spoilers for you going into this book, especially if you are interested. It is so grotesque and grim, but it's an incredibly written story, and definitely one to pick up if you've not read this yet. So I'm really happy. I think I gave this 4.5 stars, but obviously ratings change depending on how you feel, so who knows, this might end up being bumped to 5 at some point, but my initial thoughts were 4.5 and that I would recommend this book to you. So that is a book that I read for pink on the cover and a new to me author. So at this point I am 2 books down. Actually, that's a lie, I have finished Rose House, but I don't think I filmed any content for this book. So let me go grab that book. What is it? Do you see all the books? I think I finished Greedy on Sunday mid-afternoon. So I went straight into Rose House after that. It's only 115 pages. I finished that on Sunday as well. So yeah, Rose House is like a speculative thriller story about an AI house, and that there's a dead body inside the house, which the AI gets the police involved. Then it's a whole crime investigation from there. In only 115 pages, I think it did a really good job delivering on this story. It's set in a futuristic California. I read this for the prompt of a book under 250 pages. It's also a thriller story, it can fit for that as well. And also a new to me author from Arkady Martine. So at this point, with these 3 books, I have finished the Summerween reading prompts, and I have picked up another book, which is a serial killer support group, and it is by Saratoga Schaefer. I read Child Wife by this author earlier in the year, and I really enjoyed that book. It was incredible, so I wanted to pick up more by Saratoga, and this is a twisty thriller about serial killers who get together at a support group, kind of like a way for them to talk about their kills and their activities in a safe space. So it is an interesting concept and I really enjoy it. It's following, oh, and I am like 160 pages into this now, so we're following Syra, whose sister has been murdered, and the police have told her that they reckon it's the acts of a serial killer due to the positioning of her sister. And her friend tells her about this support group, and she then takes it upon herself to become a serial killer herself, to join the support group in order to find out who the killer of her sister was, because nobody is really doing anything to provide answers for Syra. So she infiltrates this group, and it is such a dangerous concept, but she is so determined to get answers. And I am really enjoying the writing style of this story, and I'm so intrigued to see what Syra does throughout the story, like well, the rest of the story. It's getting intense and absolutely crazy. And I think this book is going to be rounding out my Summerween readathon reads. I don't think I'm going to be able to get any more books read for Summerween. I do have other ones that I need to prioritize which don't fit the theme. So I will be reading this book for the rest of Summerween, and it might be the last book that you see in this video, but who knows. Like I said in the beginning, I am filming this across multiple months. Well, it has been 2 weeks, but anyway, this is going to probably be the last one in this video. This would be my reading for Summerween readathon plus Dollface for the start of this video, but we will do a full roundup once I have finished the serial killer support group and give you my final thoughts and opinions on this book. I feel like this video has gone through so many weather patterns. Like, I believe I filmed the intro to this video in a dress and I was complaining about the heat. So the fact that it is now like 13 degrees and raining is absolutely crazy, because at the start it was 24 in a heat wave. It is so ridiculous being in the UK in the summer. The weather doesn't really know what it's doing. And I am going to stop rambling because some of this is going to get cut out and I need to continue reading the serial killer support group. So let's get on with it, and I will catch you in the next update. So I've now finished the serial killer support group by Saratoga Schaefer. This book is just so incredible. This is your psychological thriller, like murder mystery sort of book, and it was so gripping, tense and unhinged to say the least, but it was incredible and I really enjoyed my time reading this book. I feel like Syra throughout this story, she has been so affected by the group of men that she is surrounding herself with in this support group for serial killers. She takes it upon herself to become a serial killer, pretending to find out details about her sister's death. So it is the murder of her sister that she is trying to solve. That is the mystery. This takes a deep dive into a whole nother world, which becomes so unhinged for Syra. She is basically put into a space with all of these criminals. They don't even share their real names with each other. Like, they don't trust each other, but they come together for this support group to validate their feelings and why they do what they do. So Syra being a normal girl in this situation really does take a toll on her mental capacity, and I really enjoyed the look into the spiraling and how coercive these people are. And whilst she did have a mission, there is so much more going on in this story, and I really enjoyed hearing from our different serial killers in the support group as well. We had like mini chapters for each of them, and it gives them a bit of a reasoning and a motive for why they do what they do, and how Syra is now intercepted into this group and has to pretend to be one of them. It is so gripping, and I know I've said this before, but it is so unhinged, and it goes on a quest for revenge. I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed the twistiness of this thriller and how psychological that it got. It had everything that you would want in a horror thriller, and I'm really glad that I've read it, and I would highly recommend picking this book up if you are wanting something a little bit different in the thriller genre. I feel like myself, I often get a bit burnt out by thrillers. I do think this one is slightly different. It has so much depth, and also the look into the psyche as well. The twist was incredible, and I love how Syra's character develops throughout the story because of her surroundings. She is an isolated person as it is since her sister's death, so surrounding herself with really bad people doesn't really pan out well for someone. It is such an interesting read, and I really enjoyed my time with this. I don't know if I mentioned it in my last update clip, but I was reading this so quickly. Like, it is such a fast-paced, page-turning story. I reckon someone could read this in a day if they really wanted to. I think I'm going to stop rambling there and let you know that this was the final book for my Summerween reading, and I have now finished 4 books in this video. No, 5 books. I have to count Dollface because I read that at the end of June, which feels like a long time ago, but for you it was like 20 minutes ago. But yes, it's been incredible. I've read some really good slasher stories, some serial killer stories, and also a weird sci-fi house. I do think out of all of the books that I have read for this video, my favourite is going to be Greedy, and then my least favourite was probably the Summerside Lake Massacre. But overall, I had a really great time reading all of these books and enjoying the summer season, and just know that I'm really looking forward to the autumn time. I am so over the sun. It's just not a bit of me. I love to rot in the cold and all of the changing colours and the harvest and so on. But nonetheless, I do try to keep the spooky season alive in the summer. Throughout the year, if you know me, it's Halloween all year round. But thank you so much for watching this video and coming on this little journey with me. Let me know in the comments what books you've been reading for Summerween. I'd love to know, and tell me what books you would recommend for me to pick up next time. Thank you again. Do stick around. Please hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you join this little community, and if you have any thoughts about what videos you want to see next, do drop those in the comments as well. I'm always open to creating whatever you want as well as what I enjoy. But until the next time, keep your pages turning and embrace the darkness. Bye!